that we here highly resolve these dead shall not have died in vain, that the nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom.
The nation shall have a new birth of freedom.
And welcome everybody back to Thor at 4, your best weekly source of all your local information. Don't forget, if you want to call in, you can call in at 301-917-9171. And as a quick public service announcement, if you happen to see the Four Horsemen or Cthulhu mulling around, please let us know. We'd like to inform everybody. You know, we are in day 5 of a new presidency, but fortunately nothing has been... I haven't seen any of the harbingers of the apocalypse quite yet, but we'll see how the next 4 years go, and we'll keep you all up to date. So...
I might have to stop and take a sip of water. Okay, so...
Just don't be like Marco Rubio, you know. Just don't do it awkwardly.
And okay, so the Potomac River extends about 60 miles, and it's one of the I believe it's the largest tributary into the Potomac River, and of course we know the Potomac River flows into the Chesapeake Bay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so the local governments, the Carroll County and Frederick County, formed as the River Board. And it consists of 10 people, 5 from Frederick County and 5 from Carroll County. And the River Board's role is to recommend governmental policies and initiatives for adoption, to the local governments that are related to the Monocacy River.
So it's just another board that we have.
Just another board.
Just like we have the Roads Commission and all these other things here. So. Okay.
Read this. It all sounds very benign. It sounds good. Everyone wants to help the water quality.
Yeah, everybody likes clean air and clean water.
Clean air, clean water, and keep the scenic beauty of the plan. Their vision was, if there was any suggested land setback, to what we're talking about now, that they remain voluntary. They were suggestions only, and that they would, quote, never function as a regulatory measure, so not to be regulated.
Okay, so originally they said, hey, if you want to do this, if you want to have this overlay, you can have this overlay.
Yeah, they're suggesting a voluntary
so
setback. What's
happening now? So if I have property within these yellow lines, what does that mean for me going forward?
And thus the problem. Somehow it migrated from this commitment to a voluntary land setback. Now the River Board and their government sponsors are calling for a regulatory setback. And what that means is the land is basically under government control. So in essence, it's land confiscation by regulations. And the reason why I call it land confiscation is because within the setback, they have the ability to layer on regulations in perpetuity in the future. And actually in the 2016 plan, there's already some restrictions that they're suggesting, like including grading and building. That's a real big
so
one.
as soon as we come back, we're going to talk about where this 500-foot number came from and what's going to be installed along the Monocacy River on the backs of their homeowners. You're listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back. What we're talking about here is we're talking about the Fifth Amendment. I mean, that's kind of what this boils down to, is that the government can't take your property without providing just compensation.
Sure.
Like that. That's just so everybody knows. That's what we're referencing here. Is that and I actually just explained this to my wonderful producer Colton before the show. Like if the government wants land for whatever purpose it may be, the government has to, number one, they have to basically ask to buy it, And if you say no, then the government has to go to court, go through the eminent domain process. And the end result of that, if found in favor of the government, is that that individual has to sell their land to the government at fair market value. So the individual has to be justly compensated for the property that has been taken, whatever it may be. It could literally be a tchotchke. It could be a bottle of water that you own. If the government decides they want that bottle of water, they got to pay you for it.
That's right.
So what we're really talking about here is we're really talking about Frederick County basically saying, screw the Fifth Amendment. We want this land, and we're going to figure out some way to get it one way or another.
I would say that's a perfect summary.
And they called up and said, I don't understand this red line. What does this ESA area mean? Well, sir, you have mussels on your farm. He said, mussels?
Do you mean like these guns?
No, like clams and mussels.
Okay,
Those kind of mussels.
Wrong mussels, sorry.
Wrong mussels. He goes, I've been here forever. I've never seen a mussel on my farm. The DNR and discussed it with them, and basically they said that the ESA line was, quote, hypothetical, shouldn't be used for public use, and isn't there to, for regulatory purposes either. So in other words, what?
So DNR makes these lines because there might be something ecologically sensitive.
And they hadn't sent anyone out. The gentleman said, well, has someone been trespassing on my property looking for rare frogs or whatever, some rare species? And they said, no, we haven't had anyone trespass on your property. No one's been visiting your site and so forth. So on top of no one really confirming this, it's all hypothetical.
So basically, the DNR used the same process that I'm going to use right now. I just decided that there is a Charizard residing right here in the studio, and if you play Pokemon Go, you can come and you can catch it. Get off your phone, Colton. And so I just arbitrarily decided that with no evidence. I haven't even been outside. I can't see one. I don't have the game up. I don't know that it's there. But I could just decide, draw a red line around this and say that this is a Charizard-sensitive area.
A couple that's interested in buying a beautiful stone house built on the Monoc, and all the lines go past this house.
Okay.
And they want to put an addition on it. And they are stuck cold with what do these lines mean? How will this affect my future? This guy wants to retire and have a vegetable farm, and he wants to pump water out of an existing pond that's there. Mm-hmm. And it's his understanding that if these setbacks are there, he can't do that. That's going to kill the deal. So even though it's a draft plan at this point, it is already messing up deals.
It's the uncertainty.
Well, when you have uncertainty, even if the deal goes through, what does it equal? It equals lower sales price.
Yeah, you're a business consultant. You've seen this every single day. If we don't know if you're buying an item and there's a regulatory body over that item, you want to know what those regulations are going to be before you buy it. It'd be like buying a warehouse full of, what were those things? Buckyballs. Little magnetic little toy things that basically got banned from the U.S. very shortly afterwards. If I was a toy store and I'd bought a bunch of those, I'm screwed. I have a bunch of useless inventory. Mm-hmm.
What's next?
And that always seems to be what this boils down to, is when it comes to government overreach, it's not necessarily about the immediate overreach, but it's about the potential of where this will end up. And let's just be fair too, Frederick County has had its own history of various private property issues.
Yes.
Just recently, we had a private business basically threaten with eminent domain if they didn't renege on a contract through the county executive. That was the whole Citizens Montague ordeal. Basically, our county executive threatened, to just steal it outright. Instead, and using that threat, she was able to get the company to basically nullify the contract. We also, there's downzoning all along Route 15 where property owners had the zoning on their land changed and totally messed everything up. So, Colton, what's that? You say we have a caller. Go ahead. Welcome,
Hello,
caller.
This is Christian. I heard something about Citizen Montague.
Yeah, what about it, Christian?
Oh, just curious because I noticed we're talking about the floodplains and land grabs and things of that nature. So they're kind of all correlated, I'm noticing.
Well, it's the whole theory of it's private property. Basically, the whole issue with Citizens Montague being retaken by Frederick County was that there was a threat that the county would actually end up taking it. There's a pattern of private property rights being trampled in the county over the last 2 years.
Understand, and my actual voice of dissent when all that went on was I believe that it should have been brought to a vote. Do you think that this whole problem that we're having with the floodplain in this general area could be possibly put to a vote in Frederick County, and that it would be a slight non-issue?
The thing about that, Christian, that's the scary part. If we put this to a vote, if this goes up before the county council, what's the vote total on every single issue at the county council? It is 4-3 on every single one of them. Anything that's controversial. Sure, the county council, they could agree to name a park after, Air Bud, the movie. Okay, they could vote 7-0 on that. But try to get all 7 of them to agree on, respecting private property rights, that ain't going to happen.
Well, you think it ought to happen.
I can understand that perspective.
So, all right.
But I can also understand the perspective of, as far as eminent domain and things of that nature, is if you actually did put certain to vote, somewhat taken care of.
Absolutely. So, Christian, we gotta go to a break, so I gotta let you go. All right, thanks for calling, buddy. I'll come by and say hi sometime.
Yeah.
So
sounds great. I also live on a floodplain, so I think about that too.
Oh yes. Christian there lives right next to a small little river with a bridge over it. That's his driveway. So very similar.
Yep.
problems.
So a part of the wonderful floodplain. So I've been thinking about that as you were talking and everything else. Like, oh wow, floodplain, and this is an issue with the floodplain type of situation. And wow.
All right. Thanks for calling, Christian. We got to take a quick break.
Thank you.
When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how this is going to affect you guys, how this is going to affect property, because that's the part in all of these stories. We can rail about the Fifth Amendment all we want, but there's also a personal aspect to this, and I want to hear how this is going to affect you and your family and your retirement or whatever it may be. All right. You guys are listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back.
The following are 5 reasons you should go bowling. Walkersville Bowling Center, located on Biggs Ford Road, is the only duck pin bowling center and family fun center in Frederick County. 2, it's a weatherproof sport. Rain or shine, Walkersville Bowling Center is open 7 days a week with 10 lanes of fun. 3, it's a family affair, a healthy, wholesome sport that the entire family can enjoy. 4, it's affordable. From youth to senior leagues, children's party specials, and karaoke every Saturday night. There's something for everyone.
And welcome back to Thor at 4. Don't forget that you can call in at 301-917-9171. We're still talking about land grabs and rivers and dirty air, dirty water, or whatever. So I'm still here with Lisa and Earl Bell talking. So one part of this plan is that the only thing that the county can do within this new regulatory easement that they're trying to put in is install a park and install a bike path.
Well, they talk about, like Lisa mentioned earlier, they leave it wide open with things that could occur within the setback, including public recreation. Now, if you're a planner and you read that, what could you do with that? Hey, we could build a park.
Oh, you mean
don't do something in my boot and tell me it's raining.
Yes.
So when it all points to a conspiracy to commit taking land and doing what you want with it, if it all looks like that, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
Well, I think in this case you could sensibly connect the dots to come to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, the counties are denying this has anything to do with parks, bike paths, and the like, flat out denying it. I read an email, a concerned citizen emailed Jan Gardner, who's our Frederick County executive, about this, and her response was, there is nothing in the river plan that supports a bike path or trespassing or public access. But I would suggest that Ms. Gardner fully read the plan, because in the text of both the 1990 river plan and the 2016 river plan, it clearly states that the land can be used for recreational purposes, and it's specifically in the 1990 plan for bike paths walking trails, community parks.
Okay, so that doesn't make any sense because wouldn't boating actually pollute the river more?
Well, sure. And if you like essentially, what's a bike path? You're building a road.
Yeah,
you're building a road adjacent to which I would never be allowed to do. If I needed to move my tractors up and down the Monoc River, I couldn't get a permit to do that, build a road to do that in a million years. So,
but when we come back, I want to talk more about what this 85 to 90% of your land could be used for. We already know some of what it's used for a 12-year-old to learn chores and responsibility. So you're listening to Thor at 4, and we'll be right back. We're two boys, and so we have Travis and Clay. And I just want to talk to you guys. Basically, you guys have 11 acres out there. You guys have a little bit of space. What do you guys do with this land that your folks bought?
We do dirt bike riding. We build forts. Our friends, they hunt on that property, and eventually I would like to hunt on that property.
What are you gonna? You want to get some deer, make some nice venison jerky?
Yes, sir.
Don't call me sir. I work for a living. Oh my! All right, Travis. So tell me. So what do you? You mentioned that you did the goat stuff earlier. Okay, that you're raising goats and everything. What else do you like to do around there?
Well, I have a soccer goal and in our backyard, and I love just to go outside and just play basketball, soccer with that, and play basketball in our driveway. And when the line comes up, it completely overtakes my soccer goal, so I don't know if I'll be able to play soccer there anymore. I like to search for cool things in our woods.
What's the coolest thing you found in your woods?
It's an old wagon wheel.
Ooh, nice. So Clay, do you? I assume you play any sports as well?
Yeah, I play basketball and I run track.
All right, so how's this going to affect your sports career?
Well, it's not really going to affect my sports career when they take the land. It affects me. It affects my playtime outside with my brother.
Oh, that's terrible. Guys, thanks for sharing. I know, Holly, you said you had a few other things that you wanted to mention here because this report is extensive. Okay, look. I read 400-page documents for a living. That's basically my day job. All right, and they are the most dull and trite and terrible things. Like, I think we should use the documents like that to torture terrorist subjects at Gitmo. All right, if it was up to me, that and Justin Bieber, nobody could stand the onslaught. All right, so you went through half of a torture session here. So tell me what you saw in there that made you so worried. I kind of want to buy your property and build a big wall and then declare myself George Washington of the 8th Army of the New World Order and basically just declare myself a sovereign state. Yeah. Like, if you ever seen The Postman. But, Holly. Yes, I got it again twice in a row. So, Holly, Travis, and Clay, thank you guys for coming into studio. Everybody, you've been listening to Thor at 4, our wonderful weekly roundup of county politics. Don't forget to give us a like on Facebook at Thor at 4, and we'll be back next week.